10 contestants, 10 different personalities, but they all share one goal: to win and claim the $500,000 prize. Many have already left the game due to exhaustion, while the remaining players continue to endure the harsh wilderness of this place. At Chico Lake in Canada, beyond the extreme freezing temperatures, they also face aggressive grizzly bears that could attack at any moment. But before we dive into the next chapter of this survival showdown, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel to keep up with the thrilling challenges ahead. Let's get started. In the past 3 episodes, for contestants, Tim, Jordan, Matt, and Michelle have withdrawn from the competition. Although each of them had their own reasons, there's no denying the harshness of this place. Now, let's dive into the exciting next developments of the competition. First, let's check in with Clay. Today, he's planning to go hunting. He follows the mountain ridge upward. No protein in sight yet, but he does come across some freshly dropped, still warm black pellets. Judging by the details, it seems to be rabbit droppings. Clay moves a little further ahead, and sure enough, something unexpected happens. A deer suddenly jumps out of the bushes right in front of him. He immediately focuses, holding his breath and carefully creeping forward so the deer wouldn't notice him. He takes aim meticulously and, boom, an arrow strikes the deer straight in the head, ending its life instantly. Clay roars with excitement, overjoyed that from now on, food would no longer be a worry. To avoid attracting other animals with the scent, he quickly processes the meat on the spot. However, the hunting spot is about 5 kilometers away from his camp, so he can't carry all the meat back at once. He has to split it into several trips. Although this is exhausting, just thinking about having venison for dinner makes all his fatigue melt away. He returned to camp and hung all the venison up in the trees using ropes. In this way, only a bear with wings could possibly get to the meat. That night, he treated himself to an unforgettable meal of tender, juicy, and aromatic roasted venison. Hopefully, the delicious smell wouldn't lure other wild animals to the party. At this point, it seemed like all Clay needed to do was eat, sleep, and wait for the day he could claim that $500,000 prize. Calter is currently on a strict diet to lose weight. He mostly stays around his camp, gathering wild berries. Judging by the amount he's collected, it looks like he might just have enough to survive until winter. Besides that, he's also developed a hobby of picking flowers and catching butterflies. By day 23 of the competition, Calter was hoping to enjoy some berries for breakfast. However, to his surprise, his storage had been raided. Berries were scattered everywhere, and most of them had been eaten. Clearly, being a vegetarian isn't always the safest bet in the wild. So, what will he eat next? Leaves? Nope. Calter is now gathering materials to build a fish trap. And just 2 hours later, it's done. His trap looks way more advanced than what we've seen from the other contestants. Then, he sets off in his trusty battleship to the middle of the lake and tosses the trap into the water. Now, it's just a matter of waiting for the fish to bite. Over on Theresa's side, she was sleeping in a bit. The weather outside was just too cold. After waking up, she lit a small fire to warm up. But surprise, when she built her shelter, she forgot to include a chimney. So as soon as the fire started, smoke filled the entire space like a fog machine on overdrive. Fed up, she crawled out of her den to fix the problem. First stop, the lakeshore, where she gathered as many stones as she could carry. Back at camp, she carefully stacked them like Lego bricks, leaving a gap in the middle for the smoke to escape. Now, she no longer has to worry about choking on smoke indoors. Nate looked like he had aged 10 years since the beginning of the show. His cheeks were sunken from days without protein, and his hair had turned noticeably grayer. He headed over to his makeshift dock to check the fish trap. From afar, he spotted the silhouette of a big fish. Excited, he rushed to pull it in, but just as it neared the shore, the fish thrashed its tail and broke free. Frustrated and disappointed, Nate couldn't believe his bad luck. With nothing else to do, he trudged back to camp and sipped on pine needle tea to calm his nerves. Determined not to let this happen again, he crafted his own fishing net. Now it's time to test it out and see if any fish take the bait. Since Clay had successfully hunted a whole deer yesterday, he woke up early this morning to check the meat he had hung up in the trees. Luckily, it was still perfectly intact. Today, Clay planned to build a wooden smoker to preserve the rest of the venison. Without wasting a second, he jumped right into work, putting in 200% of his effort. Amazingly, it only took him 3 hours to complete the smoker. After that, he carefully cut the venison into thick slices and neatly hung them inside the smoker. While most contestants have visibly lost weight throughout the competition, at this rate, Clay might actually gain a few dozen pounds. Here we go. Today, Chico woke up early to check his fish trap. As expected, he managed to catch some water and lake weeds. Out of options, he decided to try fishing with a line instead. After casting his line so many times that his arm felt like it might fall off, Chico finally caught a fish. It was a bit small, but it was enough to lift his spirits after the earlier disappointment. He hurried back to camp to cook a fish stew, tossing in a few roots for extra flavor. Not long after, the stew was ready, filling the air with a sweet, mouth-watering aroma. Here's hoping that someday soon, I'll get to taste a delicious dish like that too. With the help of his newly crafted net, Nate approached the fishing rod to check on it. As soon as he arrived, he spotted a small salmon caught on the line. This time, there was no escape. Nate swiftly swung the net and scooped up the fish before it had a chance to wriggle free. A clean and precise move. On day 24 of the challenge, Nate woke up with a dull pain in his stomach. After a moment of reflection, he remembered. Yesterday morning, he had accidentally drunk water boiled from a pot that had squirrel feces in it. A deadly mistake. Squirrel droppings can harbor countless dangerous bacteria and parasites. While no severe symptoms had appeared yet, he remained extremely cautious. Refusing to let fatigue slow him down, Nate decided to craft a wooden fishing rod with a reel. With this upgrade, he could cast bait farther and increase his chances of catching fish. But not long after, the stomach pain suddenly became much more intense. Before he knew it, Nate collapsed to the ground in agony. It was almost certain now he had been infected by bacteria from the squirrel feces. As a former warrior, Nate had always prioritized his health. Sitting there, battling his thoughts for half an hour, he realized that above all else, his life and family came first. With a heavy heart, he made the difficult decision to call the show's crew and request to withdraw from the challenge. It was truly heartbreaking, considering the relentless effort he had poured in. As he prepared to leave, snow began to fall from the sky, as if nature itself was trying to comfort and console him. In less than a month, only 5 contestants remained in the competition. Among them, Clay stood out as the one who had hunted the largest game so far. Let's see how he'll perform in the days to come. His current life is quite comfortable. Each day, he enjoys smoked venison and meals made from snails and deer, all skillfully prepared by his own hands. In his spare time, he even takes the opportunity to proudly show off the hard-earned trophies he fought so hard to obtain. Chico had been facing a severe food shortage for days. He could only drink water boiled with tree roots to stave off his hunger. Despite this, his shelter still needed improvement, as winter was fast approaching. He reinforced the surrounding branches of his shelter to better retain heat. Next, he set out toward the lake to gather materials for building a fireplace. However, the journey was anything but easy. The ground was wet and slippery, and he even slipped and nearly twisted his ankle. After finally collecting enough materials and returning to camp, he quickly got to work, crafting a fireplace for himself. He filled all the gaps with packed earth, and in the end, the result was a complete success. Meanwhile, Calter had gathered a large amount of bolete mushrooms from across the hillside to stock up for the coming winter. That evening, he used steel wire to skewer dozens of them, hanging them above the roof to smoke dry. Looks like Clay has a serious rival now. Winter arrived swiftly, and Calter's entire camp was soon blanketed in snow. Even so, he remained warm and secure inside. But to win this competition, he knew he had to further reinforce his shelter. He filled the gaps in the walls and roof with spruce branches, even upgrading the door for better insulation. With these improvements, Calter was confident. He truly believed he could win this competition. After finishing all his work, Calter headed to the lake to check the fish trap he had set earlier. Unsurprisingly, the trap was empty. What a waste of time and effort. Still, not wanting to return empty-handed, he grabbed his fishing rod and moved to deeper waters to try his luck. Just a few minutes after casting his line, he caught his first fish. But that wasn't enough. He cast the line once more, and just as he had hoped, a second fish took the bait. As the sun began to set, Calter returned to his camp with 2 fish in hand. just enough to keep him going for another week. The competition is reaching its final stretch. Will an unexpected twist unfold soon? Or will Clay, with his abundant food supply, secure victory in this season's challenge? We'll find out in the next episode. For now, don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss the grand finale, and leave a comment below telling us who your personal champion is. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.